People, please subscribe to the campaign. Welcome back. Welcome back to Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Dave, and thank you for being here for Season 5 as we get ready to close out 2025, but not before some great interviews, and today is no exception. I'm bringing you an interview with Italian superstar, creator, and artist, Inkpulp co-host, all-around good guy, Matteo Scalera. Matteo is somebody that I first read when Black Science came out, which is a book that he did with Rick Remender maybe about, 10 years ago or so, something around there. I don't know what his time. But his art is extremely energetic and features a lot of really great cartooning. But I really got to know about Matteo when I started watching Inkpulp. And big shout out to Sean Crystal, who founded Inkpulp, who's also hooked me up with, Matteo on this podcast, as well as just a shout out to Jim Mafood for being a part of it, and Jazzy Jamie and Evil Eric Canetti. But Inkpulp is a great community, a great podcast. So if you are not part of it, you can go ahead and subscribe to them on YouTube. You'll find the links in the description below. But I wanted to talk to Matteo because he's got a Kickstarter, his first ever creator-owned solo venture is going to be Kickstarted next year, 2026 March, and it's a book called The Fourth Father. I read the first issue before I recorded the interview with Matteo, and I really enjoyed it. He has worked with some great writers, and I think as we talked about it a little bit, he's just always picking stuff up from the writers that he's worked with, and he's a great visual storyteller, so I know the big thing for him was writing the story and the dialogue and all that. We talk a lot about that. We talk about the stuff we grew up watching. We're only a couple years apart in age, and we joke a lot. I will say that we did something at the end of the podcast that I didn't turn the gain down, and I blew out my microphone, and it's hilarious. So look forward to that at the end. But let's get to know Matteo Scalera and hear about this book coming up next year called The Fourth Father. You're the editor, so
yeah, but I'll set you up. Don't worry. Welcome back, Direct Edition listeners. We're talking to another person in Europe right now. You may know him from his mark that he's left on such things as Hulk, Secret Avengers, Deadpool, the Batman universe with White Knight, Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze One Bad Day, but also his creator-owned work, Black Science, and with Mark Millar, King of Spies, Nemesis Forever, Space Bandits. I'm talking to the man they call Lo Squalo Stupido, the dumb shark, Matteo Scalera, and we're going to figure out how a Jew and an Italian can make a pizza bagel over the internet.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. When I'm thinking about the things that I want to do with my podcast, it's like, well, I got to get all the Inkpulp guys on eventually, and I'm 3 out of 4 right now with you.
Awesome. Would you miss Eric so far?
Yeah, Eric, and I'll meet him at OAX, and we'll record something down the line, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're keeping the worst for last, basically.
Yeah, I'll have to change my lights to a dark red for the Sith Lord that he is.
Oh, yeah. No, please do blue to compensate. Otherwise, it'd be
there we go.
Too evil of a podcast.
That's true. And we want to keep it at least even keel. But how are you doing? How's life in Italy right now?
Life in Italy is good. I'm a little tired because of this whole year. It's been like crazy. I hadn't been working so much for a long time. And this year I decided to push on the pedal a little bit more, and it's starting to wear out on me. Like I'm starting to feel it. It's been basically since January 2nd.
Wow,
it's been a nonstop working. I got to take a short break right after New York, but then it was already time to work on my book. So it's been a lot.
Yes, and for the listeners, we'll introduce them to the fact that in March, I believe it's going to be going live.
That's our plan. Like ideally, we would love to start in March.
Yes, so Matteo's got a book, his first book that he's writing, drawing, doing the whole thing. It's called The Fourth Father, and it's going to be hitting Kickstarter. And I just finished reading the first issue. And, like I said to you before we started recording, I didn't know what to expect. I saw the preview book. I saw the preview pages on the Kickstarter pre-launch page, but I'm already waiting for the second issue. Like it was a book that I didn't want to stop reading. Story beats were great. The art was amazing. And I'll say this too. I'm born in New York. I lived there for 35 years. And it feels like it was written by somebody that lived in New York. Like the drawing, like the feel of it, that opening shot, with the sidewalk and what's going on and seeing the chaos that's going on around, which is, I worked in Manhattan for 8 years and that's every day.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm glad. Like as you mentioned, and as I keep mentioning on the podcast, on the Inkpulp Podcast, like it's my first attempt at writing after years. Like I used to write here and there in the past, but we're talking about more than 15 years ago. And my thing is I want to try and do everything myself. So I'm not using editors, which might sound arrogant to somebody, but it's not. It's not a matter of, I want to do it all. It's just really, I want to see like what I'm worth. And that's why even in the campaign, all that you see there, it's not, there's not going to be like variant covers by X artists or anyone else but me, because I want this to be basically a big chunk of data that tells me where I'm at with writing, where I'm at in general popularity, and how many people can I bring in terms of audience. It's all data for me. So even if people will find mistakes or stuff that don't work in the writing, it's great for me. It's all data, so that I know that at least if I fucked up, it's all my my fault, and it's nobody else was involved in it. So I'm glad that you liked it, and hopefully the story holds on for the whole 200 pages. 190 I still have to decide. We'll see.
It's funny you say that about the mistakes, because if it's okay, and I can cut this out too, but if it's okay, I did notice one mistake in the writing. The brother, I'm sorry, the father, I forget the character's name, but when he's taking the daughter out, he says, "Would you like to go to the comics store?" Which in America, we don't say comics, we say comic store. So I immediately, and I know that's and it's funny because I have friends that are European and friends from all over the world, and I know in most other parts of the world it would be pluralized, but here we're stupid. I mean, we're the last of the languages, so.
No, but actually, this is a book mainly for American people. So, I should make that adjustment. Definitely. I'm using it, to be honest with you. It's not because I want to give somebody else the responsibility, but I'm using a translator for my book. So I'm writing it originally. It's all written in Italian.
Right.
I'm using a translator. So some stuff, it just happens to be there. And I don't like some stuff. I can see it. I'm like, hey, shouldn't we say it this way? So we adjust it together. But some things, sleep off. And this is one of those. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I get very invested when I'm reading, comics. I mean, it's my life, and I've been reading comics for 40 years. And if I get lost in a story, and the one thing that I notice, and I was completely lost in the story, And I was thinking a lot about New York while I was reading it because, I've only lived out in Washington in the Northwest for 11 years, but, I'll always be a New Yorker. And I got lost in the story immediately from the first page because I'm immediately thinking about, oh, yeah, I used to walk from Madison Square Garden to work every day and dodging tourists because I walked past the Empire State Building. And it's just like, yeah, this feels exactly at home for me. So
yeah, thanks, man. It was funny because it's a few months ago I posted a specific shot of New York from the book, and it was like basically New York traffic at its fullest. Like you could just see a sea of cars and taxis and stuff like that. And a guy replied to me, "Oh, this reminds me of back in around the year 2000, 2005 when I was studying there. This reminds me specifically of the corner that I would go through every time when I was going, at school or wherever." And I was like, "Oh, this is so cool because not only you got, the New York feel, you also got the right timeline because the story doesn't take place exactly in, nowadays, but it's like more or less 20 years ago. So I got even the year right. I was so, proud of that.
Yeah, because this city has changed. I mean, the city is always changing and everything's always changing. But I think New York is because it's New York, it's so recognizable and it's gone through so many changes. Post 9/11 was a huge shift in New York. And now it's, a lot of it's just an elitist playground. But, hopefully it'll bounce back and people can move in and get back there. I want to ask before we go back into
Mondani, we'll see what.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Before I ask about your early life in comics and stuff, when it comes to this book, I mean, you've worked with some of the best writers in comics over the last 25 years. Mark Miller, Rick Remender, to name a few. Sean Gordon Murphy with his universe. Mark Waid, yeah. And my question to you about that is, were you always kind of just studying their writing and kind of being a sponge with that? Because, doing your creator-owned book, I feel like you're going to think about how they were writing to kind of form a little bit of your storytelling, because you're a visual storyteller to, one of the best. And but dialogue is a different thing, and story beats.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like personally, like I don't know, like in many things in my life, I think that I absorb. I think it's a pretty common thing, but I tend to absorb stuff without setting myself up for it. Meaning that I just automatically, by being in contact with stuff, even for art, it's. Recently, somebody asked me, so which one are your major influences in art? I'm like, whatever I look like. Tomorrow, I might be looking at a really cool thing on Instagram, and there's a specific line on a face, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I'll try to, implement that on my, or I'll just do it without noticing, and then I'm like, oh yes, this thing that I'm doing now, I saw that 2 months ago on that specific drawing, So probably there's the part of me that absorbs automatically. If I have to put a specific, if I have to pinpoint it, probably stylistically, I would say Rick Remender would be a bigger influence, because generally speaking, like, I don't know, like Mark Millar is a great writer, but his style is completely different than my way of, the way that I do stuff, he's really like, he cuts every single like pound of fat from the script so that you can have like 1,000 different things happen in an issue, which is, I mean, you read the first 38 pages of my book and it's just like an hour. And it's just, interactions, people talking, small things happening here and there. So it's not my, my style, So yeah, probably Rick is definitely closer to the way I would love to write, definitely.
Yeah, because you think about like Black Science, there was a lot going on in that series, but the story was, you weren't bored, but there was a lot a lot of storytelling, a lot of and changing of scenery and stuff like that. So that the beats on your book, the beats on Fourth Father, it ramps up, and it's kind of what you want from a comic book. You want it to be like, okay, let's build this up, but then when we get to these last like 5-6 pages, let's blow the top off this thing. So.
Yeah, definitely. The way I structured it, basically, I had a broad idea of where I wanted to go with the story, how I wanted it to begin, and how I wanted it to end. And then I I decided, okay, these are gonna be the major points in which one chapter, if you will, a book, like an issue, could end. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is gonna be the ending of issue number 1. This major point is gonna be the ending of issue number 2. These major cliffhangers, or generally speaking, big clues that I'm gonna give to the audience, because basically the way the whole story structure is, you have a present situation and something weird start to happen, and the situation is pretty confused. Like, you have a few elements here and there, but you don't understand how they're matched. And then you slowly start receiving clues and new information, so that by the end of, say, issue number 4, which is the second to last one, you'll finally have the whole picture and you're ready for the big finale that will end the whole thing, So this is the main way I decided to structure the story, because it's what I like in a story in general. Even when I watch movies, that's the kind of story that I like. I don't know if you're familiar with this series that I think got canceled years ago. It's called Tin Star.
No.
With Tim Roth. It's basically it's constant misdirection and constant, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. But then at the end of the episode, they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Or it tells the story of this police guy. I think he's a detective that used to be a great detective in a big department, like in a big city. And now they shipped him to a fucking shithole where nothing happens. And of course, there's a big murder case.
Sure.
And he's got to deal with that, but he has a really mysterious past. You don't know why they kicked him out of the previous department. Then you find out he has a problem with alcohol. So something happened with alcohol. And then by the end, we realize that even the murder is connected to his past. But it's all a slow burn. So you'll finally, at the end, you're like, oh, now I got all the pieces. But the whole time you keep thinking, so what the fuck happened in the past? Right? There's a lot of confusion in there. At least for me, that's what I like. I like to be not only entertained, but also constantly given inputs and stuff that made my mind work. I want to do some investigation as the story goes on. So that's what I like.
I think we've gotten to enjoy that a lot with Christopher Nolan movies, and like some of his movies really kind of make you think. I mean, that's honestly like the best in all of movies, TV, and books is anything that causes you to think, and anything that causes you to think after you're done and go back and experience it again.
Definitely.
And with comics and movies, you can really digest it. I think every piece of art in general just needs at least two digestions of it. Music is the same way. Like, you're digesting it. So a story that makes you think, and then you go back once you know the end and you read it and you're like, oh, here's all the little clues that they gave us.
Yeah, the clues. Yeah, definitely. I like that there's another great series that does that, and that's one of the main reason I think it was successful. aside from the great work they did on characters, it's Breaking Bad. Like sometimes there's some stuff, even when he poisons the little kid, like at the end of a season, you finally see that in his garden there's this plant, I know the Italian name for it, oleandro, which is notoriously poisonous especially for kids. And then at the end, you see him in the background, and then all of a sudden he goes out of focus, and the focus is on the plant. And it doesn't tell you anything. It's never discussed again, that thing. So it's just for you. If you missed it, all right. But otherwise, it's there, and it's up to you to be, to be awake and not looking at your fucking cell phone all the time when you watch movies and stuff, and pay attention to the story.
Be present.
So that's why, absolutely. That's why I try, even in the story, not to give you too much, clear information. I try to make it as subtle as possible because my goal is to keep you there, with me.
Well, that's a great thing. And it's something that as an author, as a creator, being mindful of that, even if 10 of us don't notice it, 90 of us will notice that that's created, with that kind of feeling in mind. And that's interesting because I think about, did you ever see the HBO Watchmen series that came out during the pandemic?
Definitely. Another one that I really, really like. Really complicated at times. So it's not one of those shows that you can watch again and look at your phone and talk to your friend.
It can't be passive.
You gotta focus.
Yeah. And they gave us all the clues to who Dr. Manhattan was, and you don't see it until you see it. And when you go back and watch it, you're like, I mean, it, and I'm sure Alan Moore is probably putting a curse on me now by saying this, but I'm like, that is such a brilliant piece of work based off what Alan Moore put down. And I'm glad they just did the one season and that was it, because it was perfect.
Yeah. Me too. I love, and another thing that I really loved about Breaking Bad, it was that, yes, they made changes. Like originally, I think they were going to kill Jesse and stuff like that, of course. But they had a plan for the show. And when it's over, it's over. They did just that, the El Camino thing. But and then they did spin-offs for characters that work, of course, because it's still, we're still living in a, how do you call it? A society that it's tied with money and stuff like that. So if something that's really successful, I understand the move. But at the same time, they didn't, ruin the show like
not at all. Yeah, like Better Call Saul just adds to the overall story without demeaning anything that came before it. And I mean, we're one of the greatest, if not the greatest show of all time. Hands down. Yeah.
Agree.
So typically I ask people about their first experience with comics, but I think in this case, I kind of want to know what like the first story that either, that affected you, that you read, or a movie that you watched, like something that really spoke to you that maybe lays the seed for really wanting to tell stories.
So generally speaking, I was born in 1880. Yeah.
Wow, man, you're 1800s.
Yeah. So I was born in 1982. So I was mainly exposed to comics in the 90s. And, I live in Italy. So we have, although we're a really small country, we have a huge like comic book culture in general. So you can find like Italian comic books, US comic books, French comics, Japanese one, like manga, the whole thing. And so in terms of American comic books, those years were the years of like McFarlane doing Spider-Man and stuff. So I was really affected back then by that special like storytelling. And although those years are not that incredibly famous for the quality of the stories, but generally speaking, like I remember this, I always mention this one. I should read it again to see if it holds up. It's probably gonna suck. I don't know. But back then I loved it. I read it like more than 20 times. It was Torment, which is the
Oh
special
yeah,
against where
the first
Kraven
five.
gets,
The first 5 issues of Spider-Man.
Yeah, the voodoo thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and I remember there were so many interesting things in terms of storytelling. Like I remember this super narrow and super tall panels, and then you have what else, the sound effects of the
Doom,
drums,
doom,
the voodoo
doom,
drum, the
doom.
doom doom doom, or
Yeah.
on the thing. And then at the beginning of each chapter of each issues, he would start with the same phrase, which was "We will rise above it all" or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
And
So
I
I
think you're
remember
right.
there were this tricks and stuff, this storytelling tricks and this new stuff that made me realize, oh, okay, you can tell a story in also, different ways, not
Yeah.
necessarily the standard, like, rectangular panel. There's other ways to do it. And I remember that affecting me a lot. And also, more visually speaking, I think, I there was this manga, which is not that incredibly popular in the States, which is called Saint Seiya, is the original title. Is the translated into in English, it would be the Knights of the Zodiac, or the Zodiac Knights. It's basically these kids, and they fight against each other, and they wear these armors, and every single knights represent a constellation. So there's the dragon guy, and there's the Andromeda, which is the Libra. There's all the constellation,
all the
the
constellations.
zodiac constellations and stuff, and each armor had a specific design, because when they're not wearing the armor will take the shape of that specific constellation.
Oh.
So there's the bear constellation, so the armor is the shape of the bear, and then the pieces,
Scorpion.
They're scorpion. And so and the armor will show, like, I don't know, the helmet would be a bear, or the scorpion one will have the long tail at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 1,000 different knights with and each armor had a different design. So I remember, like, me when I was a kid, like, learning every single design of the armors. And I remember back then I was able, without reference, to redesign the whole armor for whatever character you wanted. I could draw their armor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really influential for me on, learning how to memorize stuff when you see it. So I got good at that. Like, I can walk around the city and see something that is like, that's an interesting shape, and then be able to reproduce it later.
Oh wow! So that's your visual. Yeah, your visual memory is
not like Kim Jong-gi level. Like, I'm not at that almost autistic level, but
not too many people are.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was probably just him.
Yeah. And it made for beautiful art. And that is, right. That is probably like on the spectrum somewhere. Because there are people, I met a guy, this is such a deviation, but I used to live in Portland for like a year. And there was a guy that worked at a gas station in downtown Portland. And, he was, it's not self-serve gas, it's full serve. So he serves your, he pumps your tank. And he would ask you what year you were born and what day you were born, or what your birth date was. And he would tell you what day of the week it was. And then,
oh shit, yeah.
Like, I had this like 10-minute conversation with the guy, and I'd ask him about a World Series. He's like, test me. And, like, oh, who won the World Series in 1986? Well, it was the New York Mets, and it was a Monday, and it was this. And I'm like, I don't know, but that's like it's a superpower into itself.
Yeah, pretty useless superpower, but cool when you're at a bar with drunk people.
Yeah, well, that really, has anybody ever done a comic about a world full of superheroes with the worst superhero powers?
Well, there was actually that really cool one. It was a British TV show, and it was no superpowers allowed or something like that. So basically, it's the story. The story takes place in a pub where all the superheroes go, and basically you can see there's a hierarchy between superheroes. So the group that the TV show focuses on is like a C-level superhero group. They're just fucking loser, and their powers are completely garbage. And then they go to this pub, and they're, the A-listers are there, and they make fun of them. So they're basically, scums. And yeah, it was super fun. Super fun.
That sounds like something Ricky Gervais would produce.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
When you were, you grew up in, obviously we know you're Italian. You grew up in Parma, which apparently part of you is actually made of Parmesan cheese when you're born in Parma. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. My lower parts, at least they smell like it.
Oh no! Well, we'll have to put you on a salad.
Come on, Dave. You dirty boy. What were you thinking about?
I was thinking, shredded ball cheese. But did you do any? Because you broke in around 2008 with Hyperkinetic. But did you do any self-published stuff? Is there an indie comic scene in Italy, or any self-published scenes that you did, before you kind of broke in?
Yeah, I actually did a self-published book. I participated into it. Like, it was a long story, and each artist had a different chapter. So I did like 24 pages. But that was the only thing that I did. Other than that, I would say I was just doing like work for hire for like kids magazines and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, before doing Hyperkinetic, I did that little thing, and so there is an independent scene in Italy. It's not huge, but there is definitely, yeah.
Because Italy is produced, I mean, think about the Filipino explosion in comics in the late 70s, early 80s, and that's, in such a short time. But I would say over the last 20 years, you've seen so many, big artists coming out of Italy. I mean, obviously, I feel like Simone Bianchi's probably led the charge, but, you, Gabriele Dell'Otto, Mirka Andolfo, Simone DeMeo, who else? Lucio Perillo, Marco Cacchetto, if I said that right, and Sarah Pichelli.
Sarah Pichelli, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What is there anything that you can think of that attributes to that explosion coming over here to American comics, or is it just,
I think that generally speaking, there was a movement by Marvel, especially it started with Marvel specifically, because and I refer, like, for example, you mentioned Parrillo, Simone Bianchi, and Dell'Otto. Those were one of the few ones that already, I don't know, they got, they got into US comics, but they belong to a previous generation where it wasn't that popular to hire Italian artists. And then the big change, I think, was around 2007, I think, 2006, 2007 with Marvel, when they basically open up their view to the whole world, basically.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Italy, but Italians were the ones that got the most of it, I think. There was specifically a thing called the Chester Quest. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
And basically what got me into my first foot into the whole industry, if you don't count Hyperkinetic.
Sure.
It basically, for a year back then, CB Cebulski was basically the talent scout for Marvel.
Right.
So he decided for 1 year to do all the shows around the world. For an entire year, he did all the shows. Wow. So he did an entire year traveling, basically.
Insane.
And to find 12 new talents. So you could either mail them your work, and then if they liked it and they were coming, and CB was coming nearby your town or the show that you were attending, you could meet him in person. And yeah, I was one of the 12 selected.
Oh shit.
And I think out of 12 people, I think like 6 or 7 were Italians. So that opened the door to the Italian wave in general, I would say. And it was, it was pretty easy to do in Italy, because although, again, we have a huge comic book culture, there's not a lot of work for comic book artists. And especially, it's not always incredibly well paid. So generally speaking, a comic book artist in Italy, unless you're the superstar and you're on the main title, have you been on the main titles for years, you tend to struggle if you just rely on, salaries, Italian salaries, let's put it this way, and Italian page rates.
Sure.
So working for US companies, it's way more rewarding, especially economically speaking,
Right.
And especially back then. Now the cost of life in Italy, it's gone up, so it's different. But especially in the early 2000s, like working in the States, you could have a pretty shitty page rate, but still, if you were on a monthly book, you were good,
Right.
like you're making, I don't know, like $4,000 a month, which is great if you lived in Italy,
Yeah, especially 20 years ago, like you said, or 15 years ago. Yeah, and then you get on a creator-owned book like Black Science, and you guys knocked it out of the park with that, and they've printed every version of that book at this point, hardcover, oversized, trades, this, that, and the other thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wonder if, and I imagine this is probably accurate. I think one of the reasons why the Italian artists really exploded the way they do is, well, first of all, Italy and that part of the world has more art history than anywhere else except maybe Japan, but there's with Simone and Gabrielle, if they're like the forefathers of the explosion in this country, it's the painterly style. It's what they do. It didn't really exist. I mean, Alex Ross maybe was the only one doing massive amount of painted work in Marvel. And then Gabrielle comes along with some of these covers that still unparalleled, and Simone in the same thing. But they also did interiors, which I remember picking up Secret War, which is all Gabrielle's interiors. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is beautiful. This is gorgeous. So I wonder if that's part of the reason why it really hit here and still continues to see styles that we don't normally see in American comics. So
probably. Yeah. Generally speaking, I would say, we'll confirm what you just said. There's a lot of, a very craftsmanship / artistic approach to the medium. So and also it comes from the fact that we're really close to France, and France still has that attitude. Like I think there's still artists that paint their own work traditionally. So I'm thinking about another guy who's Riccardo Federici. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm not.
He's an amazing painter. He does covers for Batman for a lot of titles now. And generally speaking, there's that's probably one of the main factors is still be really, really connected to the artistic side of it.
Yeah. And everybody, I mean, I shouldn't say everybody, but at least in this country, and I'm sure in Europe, when you're growing up and you're learning about art history or learning about history through art, you're seeing so much of the Italian, styles and the people that were, Michelangelo and stuff like that. So to our brains, at least I can't speak for every American because most of us are fucking stupid. But to my brain, when I'm seeing the work of an Italian artist, I'm immediately thinking, oh, this person grew up in a country where art is just it's everywhere, and it's such a big part of the history of the country. So.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely, I agree with you, and also, and another thing that I would say, going back to what I was saying, since I was a kid, I was exposed to a lot of different things in terms of comic books. Like not only we have all this kind of comic books in Italy, and we grow up with them. We also come from, the 70s, especially the 80s. There's a lot of collaborations with the Argentinians. So there's for years and years and years, we've been immersed, even just specifically when you talk about comic books, in so many different things, So I think it encourages people to find their own way, artistically, even in comic books. Which, for example, in the States, what I hear a lot, especially when people talk about the past, especially, there were the 90s, the Jim Lee era. So a lot of artists learn how to work like Jim Lee because that was what would get you the job back then, So there's a tendency, there's a lot of the tendency sometimes, at least back then, it was probably okay, so this is the thing that sells. Let's make that,
Yeah, of course. That was the 90s in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, which is, part of capitalism, probably. So whenever you find the formula that works, then everybody tags along, But I don't know. Maybe it's also the fact that it was never that profitable being a comic book artist, either in Italy or in Europe. So at that point, if I'm not even gonna make that much money, I might at least do what I like and find my stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just I'm just investigating as we speak. So I don't have a real answer and something that I really thought about it. So, but yeah, it might be that.
Yeah. I mean, well, one of the other things that I saw in your work very early that I could tell, which is interesting because, I picked up Black Science when it came out. I don't even know why, because wasn't familiar with you or Rick, but I think at that point I was just so invested in reading Image that every series was hitting for me at that time. You go back to very early 2000s with Walking Dead and Invincible, but you got Saga, you've got all these things. Luther Strode, I was in love with Tradmore and his art. But animation seems to be also a huge influence on you, because your artwork is extremely animated. It really is. Is that something that you ever explored? Did you ever think about going into animation, or is it just me projecting what I think I see?
Well, generally speaking, I was also always attracted by the energy and like conveying this kind of sense of energy. So even in dialogues, I was always very careful about find a way to create movement even when actual movement was not there. So generally speaking, I remember maybe it was actually C.B. Sobolski that described my work, and he always said and he said in an interview, the best way to describe it is energetic.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I always love to convey. And I always watched also, especially when I was a kid, I loved comics, but I always loved, animated
Cartoons.
shows and stuff like that, cartoons. So, and I don't know where it comes from. It's one of those things that I never realized until somebody said it out loud. In that case, it was CB. He said, "Lad, the reason why we like his stuff is because you could tell, like every panel, there's energy flowing, even when people are talking." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess I do that." And then I realized, and then when I started teaching as well, I started putting into words. I'm like, "Oh, that's what I'm doing." I wasn't realizing. So it's one of those things, one of those situations in which I realized I was doing something afterward. But yeah, I would say generally speaking, the love for energy, and that's and the flow in general of a page. So try to create movement even when it's not there.
Yeah,
and that's the main thing.
And you do a fucking great job with it. I mean, the last my last 4 guests are, you, Jeff Darrow, and Mark Silvestri and Jim Woodring. And Woodring and Darrow both worked in animation, and Silvestri's a guy whose artwork is super energetic. And we talked about that kinetic energy, and it's, I don't know. I feel like we all look at cartoons. We all watch them at some point in our life, and I think it's one of the things that if you don't look at cartoons as a kid, I don't know if you could become a comic book artist. Like, I don't know if those two things, I think about Carl Barks, looking at, and for, Don Rosa too, is just, those guys were masters of storytelling, and they worked with one of the greatest cartoon characters of all time, And
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I would say that the way sometimes I approach, I've never worked in animation other than doing some character design, but never doing actual like animation, like storyboards and stuff. But sometimes the way I approach panels, I could tell that when I have to study the composition with the pencil, I kind of mimic the gestures, especially when there's an action pose. I could tell that I start by drawing 3 or 4 lines that define where the action is going. And you could easily grab those and put them on a storyboard, for a movie or something. And when I see storyboards, I'm like, oh yeah, I do that, because sometimes in order to describe an action, they go, even outside the gutters of the screenshot of the shot, just to describe where the movement comes from and when it's directed. And I do the same. That's why sometimes, especially for action scenes, I need to work it on a separate piece of paper sometimes, because it feels too constrictive to work on the actual page. So do that on a fully blank piece of paper, so that I can work, even outside the panel. Then I'll cut it and put it there.
Wow. I don't know if you ever had any desires of getting into filmmaking, but that feels very much like a director that's storyboarding his own, what he wants for the shot. And who knows, maybe that's your future. Yeah.
I would love to delve into that, to be honest with you. Like, it would be definitely an experience that I would love to do, sooner or later in life, who knows? But I think, there's a reason why most of the storyboard artists are basically comic book artists,
Yeah, and there's a history of some of the best. Bernie Wrightson, Mike Plug, those guys went in. We know, if you listen to Inkpulp, we know the film you're going to make is some weird porno, but it doesn't matter. It could still be an action porno.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
I did want to mention very recently, I guess last week or 2 weeks ago, your issue of The Last Halloween came out, right? Last Halloween, that's what it's called. I have it back here.
Yeah. The Last Halloween.
Last Halloween.
I had the pleasure to draw the last chapter that closes the whole saga.
Yeah, and I know you've talked about it, and Tim Sale, who we lost, and he was one of the best. He was, you share art reps with him. You've done shows with him, but your art style always kind of lent itself to being a bit like it came from the school of Tim Sale, but you really did such a good job with this issue, homaging him without doing a straight Tim Sale art. And what was that like, that experience of just trying to nail that as a tribute to your friend?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, generally speaking, I try to use more like blacker spots in the story. But I don't know. I think that's more something that the reader will catch, but it wasn't in my head, because the premise for the whole thing was, so the whole thing started in 2023. I was in Como at the Lake Como Comic Art Show.
Yeah.
And Jeff Loeb was there. And that's where he asked me if I wanted to do the book. And basically the premise was, listen, you're a friend of Tim's. We want to celebrate him by finishing the saga. And instead of using one artist, we want to use 10 of his, the people that he respected the most as artists. And a really important thing was, you don't have to do anything Team Sale related. You just do your stuff. Like, Team love what you do, so just do you.
Yes.
And so, generally speaking, again, I wanted it to be blacker than usual, but it was just it wasn't related to anything in particular. I just wanted it, which is more or less the approach that I have with everything I do. Like, okay, I'm gonna try and do this, as a challenge to myself. So this time I'm gonna try and do that. Or, I don't like lately I draw backgrounds. So for this book, I'm gonna be more focused on drawing backgrounds. So it's more like my approach is more like, oh, let's try this thing,
Yeah.
So
well,
I wanted to make, lately with Nemesis and with my book, The Fourth Father, I'm trying to have this gritty, really free style where everything goes. And usually my style with DC was more controlled. So I tried to unify the two things. So still have loose lines and stuff, but at the same time having more compacts, black and stuff like that. So that was more or less the idea behind it.
Yeah, towards going back to the Fourth Father, towards the end, that fight towards the end of the book, there's a lot of junk around, and you get to play around with that because it happens in, I guess, an alley or under an overpass or something like that. But there's a lot of junk flying around, so you do get to be a little bit more loose with that.
Definitely, which always helps. And by the way, if you have like a trick for a comic book artist, if you have stuff around, that helps a lot with action scenes, because you can have stuff flying around, and that helps with the energy lines, and all that shit, and also creating depth. So you don't actually need to draw a background as long as you have elements that stay here up front or back there. You're creating depth automatically by using objects. That's why sometimes, for action scenes, if I don't have objects that can fly around, I'll just add like small things in the air, like black things in the air flying.
Yeah.
Just to,
And going back to the Image guys, I mean, Todd is the king of that. I mean, his rubble and his action sequences, there was always shit flying around. You think about the final issue on Spider-Man, where it's the Juggernaut X-Force Spider-Man fight. And, there's just stuff flying around. I think there's a shot of like debris flying and a seagull flying. There's, so it's something
seagulls, another great element. You can find, like, there's at least one scene in the first issue of Fourth Father, but there's various moments in the story in which I use the seagulls, because they're perfect. They create depth. They're amazing,
and they're everywhere, and they feel like maybe it's also an element of grounding the reader and like bringing you into reality, because no matter where you are, it's either pigeons or seagulls. They're always flying around, shitting all over the place, getting in your way.
Yeah, definitely. And they're amazing. They're a great element. There's some artists that use them very effectively. Like I think of another Italian artist, Simone Di Meo.
Mm-hmm.
Like he uses, basically he has, probably you have to pay him royalties now when you use a pigeon or a flying animal in a cover, because it's his thing now.
Mm-hmm. And he's young too. Like he's new-ish on the scene, but he's in his 20s, I guess.
No, probably early 30s.
Early 30s. Okay. Yeah. He's I assume that he's at OAX again with Simone and Matt DiTullio, his rep. Let's talk about that for a bit, because this is your first OAX, right? You weren't at the first one.
No, first time ever.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that you have to go to Florida, but I have to go there too if it makes you feel any better.
I'm not the only one.
I my parents live down there, and I'm just like, all right, I'll visit you once a year, and it'll be when OAX is. But you're going to be going in February, which is great because it's about a month before the campaign will start or so.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so people can look forward to meeting you, and then, being, the good thing about the fact that you're Italian is you could bring a crowbar and just be like, you're gonna support the Kickstarter. And because the way that Americans view Italians, it's like, oh, he is gonna break my legs.
It's gonna be fun. I don't know if they let me go through the airport security with a crowbar. I might buy it.
Just buy it when you're
in Florida.
Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, you could find any type of firearm you want. A crowbar shouldn't be too hard.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. But I wanted to keep it stylish, a gun, anyone can do it,
Sure, but a crowbar.
A crowbar is more romantic.
Exactly. It's more, Francis Ford Coppola via Mario Puzo and The Godfather.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm super excited I'm really looking forward to be in Orlando. I want to see the show. Like Sean is always excited about that show. And also it's going to be like the first leg of our tour with Inkpulp.
That's right.
And we're going to be touring. So after Orlando, we'll do a stop at a shop there. Blackbird. And then we're going to be traveling with the car with Jamie, our producer, as well.
That's
going to join us from Scotland. And we're going to drive up, and we're going to do Charlotte. Then we're going to do Annapolis, and then New York.
Wow, that's going to be
maybe
great.
In 2027, we'll do a West Coast one.
Yeah, I told Sean that whenever you guys figure out if there's going to be a West Coast one, maybe be in tandem with Emerald City or something like that. I'd be happy to, film. I'd be happy to host you guys, whatever it is I could do to help, because, I really love what the community that has been built around Inkpulp, that, I share some of the same community, but it's taking, I speak about fandom a lot, and classic fandom, what we think of as the fandom that started San Diego Comic-Con. It was, it was a fan built convention, New York, same thing. And with Inkpulp, it's the same thing. You guys have really created and fostered a community of people that not only are making comics, buying comics, but supporting each other in their comics. And
absolutely.
How much is that really? Well, just give me your feelings on how that's affected you in the last couple of years.
Well, it's affected me deeply because now, like, I've always been that type of person who's like, I'm a comic book artist, and that's all you get from me. Like, if you need a comic book, I'll be doing a comic book. Other than that, you won't know my political views. Like, the world doesn't need to get anything more than my drawings, because
Sure.
other than that, like I don't matter. My opinions don't matter, so I don't care about expressing them. So and then I decided a little bit to be out there a little bit more, and of course this comes with with downsides as well, because sometimes people don't like what your opinions are, or just
Sure.
basically like I don't expose myself a lot with opinions. The problem is that I like joking so much
Yeah.
that sometimes I get it too far. So normally when I get it, let's call it in trouble, which means one or two people are complaining.
Yeah.
It's because of I push it a little bit too forward with the jokes, but so it's been great. To be honest with you, I would sometimes I'm imagining that I wish I did it sooner, because I would have had more time to, for example, foster more like our Discord, which is getting more and more popular. And now it's become like a community that's, can't
doing its
work
thing
by itself. Yeah, they're doing their thing. But I wish I could be more, I could participate a little bit more into that. But it's really hard because I don't have the time. Like between work and family, there's literally like no time. It sounds like a cliche, but it's true. Like there's no other time left to do anything else. So but yeah, it's super exciting, and again, you can see that you start to cultivate a different kind of audience that is not following you because you're the new artist on Hulk, on Batman, but it's because those fans, and God bless them, like they they have a function in the industry that's great. But you already know that there's a big chunk of those people that won't follow you when you're not on Batman anymore.
Yeah.
And with the podcast, they'll follow you no matter what, and that's because they like you as a person,
Exactly.
and of course they must like the work as well, because it's not all based just on personality, but yeah, it's been a great experience, and we're getting better and better, and also I am getting better at doing it, because I remember 2 years ago when I started, I didn't know what to do. I was just thrown in this new thing.
You didn't even speak English 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it was the reason why I started was just to learn to speak English. That's what they suggest. Just do a podcast with 2 Americans if you want to learn English.
But it has grown a lot. I mean, I think the first time I watched a podcast was when you guys did the Todd interview. I knew who you were because of Black Science. I didn't know who Sean was, because Sean really is kind of been out of he hadn't done a monthly book in years, but yeah, he wasn't really doing a ton of comic stuff. And then Kennedy, I knew because of his name, from like Wildstorm stuff, but I was watching, I've watched you. I mean, for me, I've only been doing my other channel's 4 years old. This one's about 1.5 years old, 2 years old. But I wanted to learn what people did, like how podcasting worked. And I watched you guys and I was like, oh man, I'm doing this solo, but this is like being in a car with a bunch of friends, listening to them do their thing, and not, as a viewer, I'm not saying anything. I'm just watching and laughing. And, it's interesting because, oh yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's interesting about the whole jokes thing, because I could laugh at anything for the most part. I could laugh at anything, and I tend to laugh at anything because the world is so fucking dark, and the timeline we're on is even darker, especially in the United States. And I laugh, and I get it. Some people get offended, and I've offended people before, but I don't hold back. Like, you support fascism, get the fuck out of here. And if you're listening and you're offended, that's on you. That's not on me, because I won't take that shit. I'm a liberal person that grew up in New York, punk leaning. And, what's going on right now in my country is disgusting. And every single person that created every comic character that we know and love would be spitting in the face of the people supporting this. I think about that a lot. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but Jack Kirby killed Nazis. He did. He created all of these characters. You don't get to change the history. Anyway, I get it. But at the same time, like you said, you're creating a community of people that support you. They're on the same level as you. They're laughing with you. They're not laughing at you, that kind of thing. And it does really, it's like a little bit of a drug because, if you kept doing it, everything grows. But then you have no time for your life, your family, your work, like you said.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's already, like I told, we talked recently about this thing. Like I understood over the past year that all I can do is 4 things. Like that's the max amount of things that are manageable for me. So right now the 4 things are work and, the podcast, which is still work for me.
Yeah.
Family and going to the gym twice a week. And that's it. Like if you add a 5th thing, I'm not going to be able to manage it. So that's it, So again, if you add like a Discord, I'm going to be there here and there, but it's not, I'm not going to be able. The good thing is that I already knew because I knew about the 4 things before. So people know that, it's not my fault. I cannot make it. But going back to the actual doing the show, the only reason why I was able to jump in is because it's a group of friends, like the whole attitude about it. It's a group of friends just talking. So that was my attitude since day one. And I maintained that. Then of course we started, having guests. So I'm learning how to, be natural in an interview and not making it too much of an interview, but more of, again, a conversation amongst peers, Yeah. It's not always easy. And especially because sometimes I get in my head because I'm pretty ignorant about the history of comic books in general. So a lot of times we have guests and I know more or less what they've done. I'm familiar with the work, but I cannot tell you, your run on whatever, on Daredevil in 1997 was the best, man. I loved every single issue. Like I don't have that knowledge unless you pick specific things like the McFarlane era on Spider-Man, but really small things here and there. But also I must tell you, since you're doing a podcast by yourself, of course you have guests, but in general, you're the only host. Yes. I'm really jealous and envious about the way you're able to, fill up the moments where it's just you, because especially now we're trying, since I have to promote my book, the Kickstarter campaign, the sign up and stuff like that. We have sometimes to run ads for our stuff. We have to plug stuff. And when it's something that's scripted, or still, I have to sell you something. So we're not just literally having a conversation. It's so fucking hard. I don't even know where to start. I'm like a deer in the headlights. Yeah. So listening to you're a natural. I don't know if you're a natural or if you got there by learning, but I'm really envious.
Well, thank you. Me and Sean, we're both New York Jews. It's in our blood. Like, it's so funny. This thing I always used to say to people when it comes to New York. I don't know about Italian people from Italy, but New York Jews and Italians are the same people. We're born talking. We're born eating. Our families fill us with guilt. And that's how we live our entire lives, is feeling guilted. And I grew up on Long Island with Italian friends. I was friends with a kid named Elia Napolitano. You couldn't get more Italian than that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's pure Naples.
Yeah. But his family was the same as mine. It was like, oh, you want to stay for dinner? We're cooking all this food and stuff. And So in that, I always liked talking. I love having conversations. That's why I don't write questions down. I just write notes, things that I want to talk about. Because look, I mean, I met you for the first time an hour and 10 minutes ago, and it's just like an easy conversation. So I get that. But you're right. Like promoting yourself by yourself about a thing, it becomes tough. Like when I'm pitching, like if I met you at a con and I didn't know you and I didn't know Sean and I didn't know Jim, all that, it would be tough for me to explain to you in person what my podcast is about.
Oh, yeah.
But, when I'm like, oh, it's just a conversation about you, your work, your influences, and how fandom and art are a symbiotic thing, Yeah. But if I were to pitch somebody about your book, I'd be like, well, look, if you like his art and you like great storytelling with page turning, dialogue and also great action. I don't know where this story's going, but I could sell somebody on your book pretty easily.
Oh yeah, man. And speaking of that, like New York was the first one because in New York we had the issue number 0, which is
yes,
the first 20 pages. And we had it as a giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was like, I wasn't just, hey, you want a free comic book? Hey, you want a free comic book? I had to make a sort of pitch. And at first, it was so fucking hard. And then, of course, I gave away more than 300 of them. So by 200 or 150, I was getting pretty,
sure
with it. But at first, it was so complicated. And the worst was, oh, really? Tell me about the story. Because I wasn't, I was not pitching the actual story. I was just telling you, oh, this is my new project that I'm writing and drawing. It's on Kickstarter. So here's the book. If you like what you see, just go on the Kickstarter, sign up, and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody was curious. So like, oh, tell me about the story. I was like, oh, shit. I didn't think about it, bitch. Now I got to tell you about the story, and I don't know what to do. It's so fucking complicated, man. And even here, where we started talking about it, and at the end of the day, I didn't say anything about the fucking story, basically, because then I start dressing, and something else comes to my head, and then I start talking about that other thing. Probably you asked me probably 10 questions, like 8 of them I didn't even reply to them properly.
I mean, it's to me, this is where I can come in and say, from reading the first issue only about an hour and a half ago, it's a story about family. It's a story about a retired superhero, and it's a story about all of this happening in New York. That is basically. Do you need more? I mean, if they like your artwork, then they're on board anyway. And because this is, and like you said, and you haven't written anything in a long time, or you've never written a full series. This is an introduction to Matteo's writing. Oh my God, my phone just thought I said Siri. Jesus Christ. And it's black and white. So you're getting as close to the original artwork. And did I hear correctly? You did the artwork. It's not 11 by 17. It's actually smaller.
Yeah, the paper, the piece of paper is 11 by 14, but the page is actually 1-on-1.
Wow. So
the pages are, like this is the size of the original art as well. So what you see in there is the original art, basically.
So you're seeing detail in a meticulous way that nobody should ever think that they can do, and you're doing it in that way.
Yeah, I'm using different tools, of course, because I'm using pens and stuff like that. So more rigid, not a brush. Well, I use brushes, but just for the final part, for just gray tones and stuff. But it's mainly done with whatever I find on my table. So pens, liners, and all that stuff.
Or like a dead squirrel for blood or something like that.
Exactly. Sean's pubic hair.
Oh yeah, it's
I
all
still
over.
keep them on my table. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Like the thing about this podcast is I'm uncancelable because there's nobody that can tell me that I'm doing my thing wrong. It's just me. I mean, granted, yes, I could probably say some stuff that would get me on an FBI watch list, but I only say that in private.
Or so you think in private, but
oh yeah, nothing's private anymore.
Private.
Yeah. And for anybody watching this, the link will be in the description for the Kickstarter so you can pre-save it. I think you've got almost 1,200 pre-saves on it at this point.
We're getting close to 1,200. It's a struggle because it's like, a few at a time. So we'll see, but we have, a few months ahead. So we'll see where we can get it. But please, for whoever is listening, if you could sign up there, it will help the project a lot. And, the more people show interest, the more the platform will reward that project. So, and in the end, it's going to be a really simple campaign. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like a TPB. So for people that want to read it, there's going to be a digital version if you want it easy. Otherwise, there's going to be a TPB, a collected version. So you have the whole story laid out. It's not a campaign for issue number 1, and then we'll see about issue number 2.
Yeah.
You have the whole story, almost 200 pages. And we're going to have the for people that love specifically my art and want to see the naked pages, we're going to have an artist edition, like oversized, where you can see the whole 11 by 14 piece of paper. I mean, the pages at the end of the day, the art is going to be the same size, but you'll see the whole sheet. So sometimes I keep drawing outside the page, so you see stuff that goes outside and notes on the margins and stuff like that. So I think it's a cool element, and it's not gonna have dialogues on it. So any kind of tiers for the campaign comes with the TPB. So whoever's backing the project will have the story somehow. And, you decide. But again, the artist edition is just going to be pure art, nothing attached to it.
And recently I was listening to one of the episodes where Eric was trying to say it should be the cheapest version. I'm like, no, for people. And this is something also I'm trying to, Sean said it, but I want to get on the podcast to talk about somebody that's a collector and also, in my lane. And for artist editions, I want the best possible version of that book in the artist edition.
Exactly.
And it should be the highest level of production for that, but I will be backing it in that version as well as the regular. Are you going to, and this is something, obviously it doesn't matter to me because I don't speak Italian. Are you going to have a version on the book in the Kickstarter just in Italian?
Oh, I wish. That could be a great idea, but no, there's not going to be that. I might add some of my scripts and dialogues at the end just for fun in the artist edition, maybe, who knows? But no, in general, no, that's all you get. You'll get is the English version. But I completely agree with you. Like what we're going to do basically is the main product, the thing that I want to sell the most, of course, is going to be the TPB, the soft cover.
Sure.
We're going to try and keep it reasonable in terms of price. And then we're going to do go hardcore with the artist edition. So again, it's going to be really big, like 11 by 14 cover. We're going to study something, maybe even a case. And there's going to be vellum sheets in there.
Oh, shit.
Inside and all this stuff. Originally, the only thing that I'm sad about is that originally my idea was, why don't I have the page with nothing on it, then an acetate paper with balloons, so you can still read the story, but the balloons are separated.
Then that book becomes twice the size.
So not only twice the size, like 4 times the weight.
Yeah.
And also it's not doable. That kind of paper, you cannot do a book with 200 of those sheets. It's impossible. And I always say this, it's funny, but we have we're talking to a Chinese printer, and she immediately said, no, this is impossible. And when a Chinese printer says that something is impossible, for people that probably, if you ask them, they can do in human skins, like the cover can be human skin or whatever. If they say that a plastic paper is impossible to make, it's impossible.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
like
They make everything.
10 plastic sheets, not more than that. So it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think anybody that's going to buy an artist edition of any book in general, they know that the price tag is already over $100.
Yeah.
And if it's done by like a Scott Dunbier, then it's definitely closer to 150, 170, whatever. So like the price tag on that, anybody that wants to buy it before it even, comes out, like before the Kickstarter hits, we know what we're paying. I mean, shit. Skybound did the Extremity Artist Edition, the Daniel Warren Johnson, the whole book, and that I think that was at $300, and they, raised like $250,000 on that book, or like $175,000 on that book. So
yeah, people want that, and another. I mean, I think I have two things also that I think they're pluses when we talk about the artist edition. First of all, I'm thinking about having it exclusively for the Kickstarter. Like the TPBs, we're gonna print extra, so they're gonna be available after, because I want people to people to see the story even after the campaign.
Yeah.
But the Kickstarter, the artist edition, I'm thinking about having it exclusively just for Kickstarter. So you either get it on the Kickstarter or you don't get it. And at the end of the day, you might be spending a good amount of dollars on it, but then, you're one of the few ones who has it. And also I'm thinking about having it like an early bird option for that, where not only you get the artist edition, you get, like, I have a pile like this of all the sketches that I do, preliminary sketches.
Yeah.
Thumbnails,
stuff like that.
Yeah, the thumbnails are in general a panel. Sometimes I feel too constricted to work on it on the page, so I'm on a separate piece of paper. I got a bunch of those, so if you buy it and you're an early bird, you get, I don't know, maybe the first 100 people who back it will get a random one.
That's
of those
cool.
Inside.
I mean, I think
not additional cost.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, and this is purely like my experience, also listening to you guys talk and listening to other people talk, as a collector, as a comic seller, and as a podcaster, one of the things that I think people forget that are putting out these Kickstarters, we're collectors. Money, sure, money's always going to be tight unless you're super rich. But as a collector, your satisfaction is buying the thing and making sure that you have all of the things that creator put out. And these days, I think a lot of people are a little nervous about, we don't want to ask our audience to buy this, this, and this. I'm like, no, give me the option, because I'm a collector. My impulse is to buy all of it, and I'm not going to be mad at the artist unless the artist or the creator is selling me the same thing 3 times without any difference, but you're talking about trade paperback. I want to read the hardcover, the artist edition. I want to flip through, put it on my shelf, and every once in a while sit down with it and get excited all over again that I'm looking at the original art. So, with Jim's campaign, with the Savage Street Vigilante and then Arachnid Enforcer, it's like he gave options for all of these things for collectors, not just readers. And you have to appease both of those things.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, again, people, please subscribe to the campaign.
And subscribe to Inkpulp, and also, encourage Matteo to do this human skin version of the book, because I think that's really what he wants to do.
Oh yeah, that'd be the super like secret. If we get to, like, I would say 4,000 subscriber, we'll have a special tier, like a human and
human skin.
Yeah, Eric, specifically not any human, just. It's done with Eric Canetta's skin. So it's going to be super limited because he's even short.
Yeah,
so there's not a lot of room for a lot of books. So it's going to be like 4 to 5 books maximum. So that's super limited Filipino edition.
Yeah, there's, I feel like if he comes on my podcast, it's going to be like elephant meets wall. He's the wall, I'm the elephant, and I don't know what's going to happen, but
No, but to be honest with you, like the way his mood during the podcast is more of a reaction to us dum-dums. So normally is more like social and and more less satanic, I would say.
And it's also like Sean, when it's the three of you, he's just giggling. He doesn't actually really do anything. He just laughs a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't want to take too much more time up for you, but definitely going to see you at OAX. And when the campaign is like kind of right before it goes live, I'll have you on my other channel on the live show. And we'll do a talk and get people in, the reaction in the audience. You could say some offensive stuff and, and see my audience
gets not edit out.
Yeah, exactly. And I did want to say, I mean, it's up to you or if you want me to do it, but the thing that I really love about you on Inkpulp, and I'm one of the few that encourages it. I want it. I did it to Sean live once. He was like, don't do it. And I did it. I can do it. But you have a way of ending the Inkpulp podcast that makes me laugh pretty much every time. And I'd be
an annoying way of closing the podcast.
And I'd be absolutely honored if you would do it on my podcast.
Oh my God. I wasn't expecting this request.
I mean,
throat exercises and stuff.
I could do one and you could do one also, or I could just do it.
Let me propose this. Do you want to do it together and see who goes the longest?
Yes. I'm going to just move this away just a tiny bit. I'm going to turn the game down just a tiny bit.
So for once, I can listen and I can test it on my skin, like how it sounds like, because I'm always the one doing it to other people. So
right, and my editor Phil, he's the one who has to bear the brunt of listening to this at least more than once.
Awesome. Are you ready?
All right, here we go. On three,
you do the countdown.
On 3, on 2, on 1. Oh, he's still going. The fingers, they're transmitting. Thanks for watching and listening, my friends, and big thanks to Matteo for being a part of this. And I know you will see Matteo again, whether it's on this channel or West Coast Avengers, because I will be at OAX next year in February in Orlando. Matteo's going to be there. Jim's going to be there. Sean's going to be there. Eric and Jamie. So maybe I'll be able to record a big, really wild, all over the place podcast episode with everybody involved in Inkpulp, because they are a brother channel to this one. And, if you take both of my channels together and you combine them as one, you get more of that brother feeling for Inkpulp. But Matteo's Kickstarter is going to go live in March. You can pre-save if you click the link below. I've already pre-saved. I'm going to be backing it. You should be backing it. I've read the first full issue, and I can tell you it is excellent. It gets you really interested really quick in the characters, and his art is just fantastic. For me, I have another channel, West Coast Avengers, if you're not aware. That's all comic book stuff. That's where I sell comics as well. You can support both of these things by either subscribing to both or
being a part of the Patreon. For $5 a month, it gets you bonus videos from both channels every month, plus a private sale every 2 months, early access to videos that are coming on the channel. And basically, it's the best way to connect to the community that I've created. I don't do a Discord, and the live sales are very they move very quick. So if you want some great people, help support the channel, join the community on Patreon. You can find the link in the description below. Also, if you've never rated or reviewed this podcast on Spotify or Apple, please do so. It really helps bring this to a new audience. Any engagement on YouTube or any of the places you find this podcast will help grow the audience and get me bigger guests and get me more guests, and hopefully collect all of those image founder interviews that I'm trying to get. 4 to go. Thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I'm Dave, and I'll see you next week.